Good morning. We'll begin today's webinar now. Our topic today is how to create killer content for social media and your website. And our presenter is Judith Lee, a SCORE volunteer and owner of Communication Works Now. For those of you not familiar with SCORE, SCORE was founded in 1964 as a resource partner of the Small Business Administration, whose mission is to help aspiring entrepreneurs and existing businesses succeed. We have over 100 volunteers here in Chester and Delaware County who are available to help you with your small and startup businesses. Our mentoring and educational services are all offered for free. Our mission is to foster a vibrant small business community through confidential mentoring and education programs. Our vision is to see that every person has the support necessary to drive a small business owner. My name is Adam Schubert, and I will be your moderator today. Some rules of engagement for today's presentation. This presentation is being recorded, and it will be made available to you in a follow-up email after today's session. All participants have been placed on mute to avoid any distractions. If you have any questions that come up during today's presentation, please enter them into the Q&A box, and Judith will be pausing at several points during her presentation today to respond to those questions and take any more that come along. If you have information that you'd like to share with the group as a whole, please feel free to enter that into the chat box. So to introduce our speaker today, Judith is a certified SCORE presenter who provides SCORE seminars at libraries and chambers of commerce in Chester and Delaware counties. Judith is a highly experienced communications professional who is focused on social media as an effective and affordable tool that levels the playing field for small businesses. Her clients include small business owners, healthcare professionals, and nonprofit groups. So I'll switch the screen over to Judith, and we'll start our presentation momentarily. So Judith.
Okay. I think this one. All right. Thank you so much, Adam. And I welcome everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to attend. And I want you to know that Adam will be of particular help to us today because he's the one that will be reading the questions that you're invited to place in the Q&A box. Okay, a little roadmap about our webinar this morning. We're going to talk about why you need killer content, how the pros do it, and give you some tools for creating better content and hopefully killer content. Then we'll have a section on how to create content. We'll use the tools and talk about what we do with it. Okay, so why do we care about content? It's because that's what Google cares about. Original content, Google wants you to share original content that's valuable to your customer. Google doesn't want what they call thin content, which is something that's automatically generated, thin affiliate pages, or content from other sources. And just as a reminder for why Google is so important, Google performs 100 million searches a month. So Google is the vehicle for you to be found. So as I just mentioned, Google is critical, the Google searches, the content is critical to your search engine optimization, SEO. Content also tells your story. It expresses your message, and it engages customers and prospects. So SEO is how you are found, and the Google search is obviously very closely tied to your SEO. So what is content? Content is anything you place on your website or you post to social media. This would include text, photos, videos, memes, blogs or vlogs, and calendars, links, or listings. The content must be original and dynamic, which means you need to change it. Google knows how often you're posting, and it likes you to have dynamic content. So that would be, it would be video and things you change often. So once again, for killer content, we need engagement. That's part of what makes something dynamic. So engagement means you connected with your viewers, which hopefully would be your customers and your prospects. So the question is, what is engaging? Now, I would hope these photos of these babies engaged you just a little bit, caught your eye. Something that's engaging will either surprise or inspire, educate, in other words, show that you're smart or have expertise, amuse, be funny. Humor is a great way to connect. It is static content is not as engaging as active content. Static content would be text and photos. Active would be video. I must say video, and did I mention video? Video is very important because it is more engaging to the viewer. So I'm going to stop here and see if there are any questions in Q&A. Adam, do we have any questions?
Judith, no, we do not have any questions right now. So folks, if you have any questions for Judith, please type them into the Q&A box and we'll be stopping at several points.
Thank you. Okay, here we go. So now we're going to talk about where the pros begin. Where do professionals like myself begin in creating killer content? The very best content is original content. That would be photos of your own, videos you've made, text you have written. But sometimes we don't have original material to work with. And in that case, we would look for an authoritative source. So an authoritative source is not a competitor of yours. It's not someone else who offers the same products and services. An authoritative source would be a professional or industry association or a government site, such as the CDC. You're going to choose a source with no commercial interest. Once we find a source, we generally want to take that content and rewrite it or reshoot it for originality. And the reason is because plagiarism has become a legal specialty, internet plagiarism. And you don't really want to be caught in plagiarism because it's a real thing and it's a real problem. So you can rewrite or reshoot, and then you can test your text. Like I always say, I rewrite something and then send them to your website. I would run it through something called Copyscape. Copyscape will tell you right away if it is sufficiently original. And then also Plagiarism Detector is another good site. They are paid services, but they're very inexpensive and very well worth it. I will also look for, if I don't have original photos, for instance, I will look for royalty-free photos. Stock photos are available, but they cost money. Royalty-free photos are free, and you aren't even required to give credit to the photographer. I like Pexels.com for royalty-free photos. There's stock video, and Pexels offers that. That's one source right there. A tip that every pro will tell you, whatever you need, search for it and you will find it. All right. So a couple more rules of thumb for creating content. Shorter is better. If you have a longer topic, break it down into small bites. And I mean shorter videos, 2 minutes or less. I mean, a paragraph of text is better than 5 paragraphs of text. And there's one that's better than perfection. And perfection is not something you need to strive for. What you really need to do is be authentic. You want your viewers, your readers to feel it's not fake, it's real, and you're real. That's really important in engagement. So here's a little trick I have. You might say, well, what content should I make? Well, the first thing you can do is think about the most frequently asked questions that your customers or prospects ask you. Write down those questions and then answer them. That gives you can probably come up with 5 or 10 most frequently asked questions. Create content that answers each question. Right there, you've got 5 or 10 posts or content for your website. You can also answer the unasked questions. Your prospects especially wonder things like, what is this going to cost me? And I find that the reason there are unasked questions is because people are embarrassed to ask them, but it's on their mind. So when I'm engaged with prospects or customers, I answer right away, what is this going to cost me? Because I know they're wondering that. Your customers are looking for answers. All right, I've been moving through pretty quickly. Do we have any questions?
Judith, no, we do not have any questions at this time. So everyone, please feel free to ask away in the Q&A box. And we have a question now.
Okay.
What do you do if your fee is different in various situations? I don't want it on the web, but will answer it if they message me or call me.
Okay, well, that's a really good question. I will tell you that um, my fee is like that. I have different fees depending on the size of the project. And in fact, I have different fees for nonprofit versus for-profit organizations and for startups. So the way I handle that is that I tell them there's a range of fees. Now, I agree, I don't put it on my web, it's not on my website, but I will from time to time on content discuss my fees on social media. So I would say that there's a range, and it ranges from this to this, depending on the size of the project and the type of organization I'm working with. Generally, my purpose is to not frighten people. There's a sort of a misconception out there that if you get help with social media, it will cost a lot. So that's what I'm trying to express. So you should just think about what is your purpose. You can even say, my fees start as low as, and say it, depending on the type of project. A phrase that's also helpful is to say that I feel every customer is unique and their needs are unique. And for that reason, I have varying fees and I need to speak with you and develop a plan and a fee for you. Okay, anything else?
No, no more questions at this time, Judith.
Okay, thanks. All right. So creating content. Your content, you're going to ask yourself some questions before you create your content. And the reason you're doing this is that your content needs a purpose. You know, if you're posting to social media just as a person individually to your, say, your Facebook friends or your Instagram followers, you really don't need a purpose. You can do it just for fun. That's fine. But for a business or an organization, you really need a purpose. You need purpose in order to justify putting your time into creating content. So the questions you're going to ask yourself include, is this just a one-time post or is it a campaign? In other words, let's say you have an event or a sale coming up. That would be a campaign. You're going to do a number of posts that are leading up to a certain date or time. And then you're going to plan those posts out for the number that you need. A one-time post, and there's nothing wrong with those can be unconnected to other posts, but you need to know that in your planning. The second question is, will this be for my website or my social media? Now, it can be for both, but it doesn't have to be. A little bit of a tip that is a good thing to do in order to have content refreshed on your website sort of automatically, is you can ask your webmaster to have a plugin where your social media posts come up on your website. Google will consider that refreshing your website, and it's no additional work for you. Now, the reason you do want to know whether it's web or social media is that website content is a little more of it stays around longer. Social media moves quickly. So you're going to, messages that you want to have there on a longer term basis, that's going to go on your website. And social media could be daily posts, 3 times a week posts. And that's a little bit of a different cadence for creating the content. And is this a post or a blog? So a post is something short, as I talked about, something like a paragraph long or less. A blog is longer, 3 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs. It can even be the length of an article. Something that you're posting could be both. But if you have a blog that's, say, 3 paragraphs or longer, then you just want to create a post. You want to put your blog up on your website or another blog site, such as even LinkedIn. And then you want to put a post out that just says, hey, go read my blog, go read my blog. Because if you put a blog up as a post, it's probably unlikely people are going to read the whole blog. They'll read whatever you shows. You'll note your part of, just if it's long, just part of your content will show, and then the reader has to click and to read more. I'd rather see you say, hey, go read my blog, and have whatever length blog you have up. And then the other questions you're going to ask yourself, is this going to be a text and photo, or is it going to be video? Once again, video gets the most engagement, but it doesn't have to be video. There can be very effective text and photo. Is it going to be original or sourced and rewritten? And once again, if it's original, if you have original material, great. But if it's going to be sourced and rewritten, you're going to need to allow some time for that. So think about what content best serves your purpose. If it's going to take a little more effort, for instance, to make a video, that's, kind of save that for when perhaps it's more critical that you get engagement, announcing something, motivating your customer to do something. Okay, so let's look at what we could be creating. I mentioned memes before. A meme is simply a photo where you've put some text over it. And memes they're great for humor. So in this one, I personally live in the world where there's horses and dogs, and people are always making jokes about feeling there are purchases related to your pets and your animals that are necessary, but my husband doesn't think that's really necessary. So that it's just a little bit of a joke. You can do this kind of a joke, especially if there's kind of an inside joke about your industry, your products. You can also just be pleasant and funny. And with memes, let me just see what the next one. Okay, these are some more memes. These are fun kind of COVID memes. And I suppose we need to find some more new memes that hopefully this is all behind us. But it's just simply a photo with text. There's another one where somebody just put up text and a photo, and it's philosophical. Okay, there's a lesson in there. And that's fine to do with memes. And let me just go back and say, to create a meme, you can use something like Photoshop. You can use Canva. You can also use Paint for that. And those are all good tools for creating memes. You can also Google memes, and there are memes out there that you can just use. All right. But to create your own, those would be the tools that I mentioned. All right, so here is killer content that was created just with photos and text. This is from a builder who was doing a lot of work building these tree forts and play areas. And, you know, he always takes pictures of his finished product, which you should be doing. And then he just assembled these photos and said, here's my some examples. We can do this kind of thing for you. And I'm sure he got a great deal of engagement on this. Another point is to keep your content simple and inviting. This one was created professionally, but it's very nice looking. It's simple. There's one thing, one message. And in this one, actually, if you clicked on Show Me My Book, it actually shows you samples of how the book would look. It wouldn't need to be, yours wouldn't have to be that kind of fancy, but you want to keep it simple and inviting, easy to understand visually and quick on the content. Okay. I went over quickly how we create content. Does anyone have questions about what we just went over?
Yeah, I don't have any questions right now, so please remember to type your questions in the Q&A box if you have anything you'd like to ask Judith. Thanks.
Okay, great. And also at the end, we'll have time for general questions if it's a question not even related to what I'm covering today. Okay, so why do we care so much about video? And I have to tell you, I was an English major. I'm a great reader. I love to read. But when asked the question, would you rather watch a movie or read a book? A lot of times I'm going to watch the movie. Personal habits have gravitated to screens. And in fact, on screens, most of the time, people are not looking at text, but they're looking at videos. So video gets the most engagement, and every business needs to be incorporated in their marketing. All right, it's going to work better, even if it means a learning curve for you and more work for you. But we have some suggestions on how to become acclimated. All right, so here's an overview of the video process. You're going to have to think things through. I mean, when you're once again doing something personally, you just want to share a funny thing your cat did or your dog did, well, you just shoot the video and post it. But that's not what a business does or an organization. You're going to put some planning into it. So first of all, you want to have a shooting location. So this photo I have here shows it's a cooking video. So it's going to be in the kitchen. So this person thought through where we'll shoot it, the lighting, the background. You want an appropriate location. If someone has a business like mine, that's really a business service, you can have your location be right at your desk, like I'm at my desk right now. But you want it an appropriate background and setting. You'll also want to have a quiet setting. So that's important for choosing your location. You're going to write a script. So a script can be very simple, really guidelines for you to use. It can be as simple as bullet points, but write down what your message is going to be when you make a video. The reason is that when you do that, you organize your thoughts, and you want to appear to be organized in your video. If you aren't, you will give the impression that your business is not organized. So it's a subliminal message you want to avoid. Write your script and rehearse it. Rehearse it in the setting. You'd be amazed the number of little glitches you can avoid if you've rehearsed it. All right. So do that. You can shoot while you're rehearsing and just look at it yourself and not share that video. Then when you're ready, you're going to do shoot, edit, and post. Now, I'm not going to emphasize video editing a lot here in my presentation. Video editing is a whole field unto itself. And if you're interested in really editing your videos, you're at a different level. And there's editing software out there. I don't really use any, so I'm not really recommending it, but just Google best editing software if you're interested in learning it. I'm more interested in teaching you today about shooting something that just can be posted. The process gets easier the more you do it. Okay. I know of one very smart realtor who recognized the value of video, and he was doing a video twice a week about properties he was showing. And he just got really good at it because he did it a lot. So that is a little gem about creating any kind of content. The easiest way to create your own video, there's a couple of them. One is Facebook Live, and Instagram has a similar feature. And of course, yeah, let's just stick with Facebook Live. So Facebook Live has this this logo that you see. You'll see that icon rather on Facebook Live, and it's very easy to, when you turn that, you hit that icon, Facebook is going to give you a cue of like 3, 2, 1, and you're live. And Facebook is shooting a video of you, and it is showing live on your Facebook page. Now, that means before you go live on Facebook, you want to rehearse and figure out your location and all that. Facebook Live is also useful for an event that you think your prospects might be interested in. That's something that you can't rehearse, but play around with Facebook Live just on your personal page before you try using it for your business. Don't fuss too much about being perfect. Once again, authentic is better than perfect. And one of the great benefits of Facebook Live, and this would be true of Instagram, Instagram's live feature, is that after you're finished shooting your Facebook Live, Facebook or Instagram will post it like a regular video. So it doesn't just go away. And that video is there for you to post on other social media accounts. Another way to record that's very simple and easy is to record on your computer. There are various recording apps you can load. You also can just use Zoom. Like right now, we're recording. You can record videos right on your computer and look at them and record them again. I have a client who's a health coach, and she makes a short recording on Zoom every week. She posts it to her YouTube. She sends it to me, and I post it on social media for her. You can be doing all of that yourself. And once again, not to belabor it or make it perfect, authentic is better than perfect. A couple of other points. You can convert your photos to video, and there are 2 websites here that you can use. The photos you already have can make a very interesting video. And in fact, you can, through these platforms, you can add text and things to your video. And music. Some of these, like I think that NCH software offers background music. If you're interested in adding music for your videos, use this link that I show here to suggest, it will suggest free music for video editing. You can't just take music and use it. That's a plagiarism problem. So you want to find free music and use that. Okay. I blew through video, which is very, very important. Are there any questions about video or anything you'd like to talk about?
I've got a couple questions for you, Judith.
Great.
Our first one is, are there things we should keep in mind with personal versus professional social media? I have a Facebook for personal purposes and don't use often. I'm starting to use LinkedIn professionally. Any issues for privacy versus openness and authenticity?
I think that's a really great question. I would say that even if you are posting personally, just remember that you are your brand. So your personal posts don't have to be about your business or something that is really aimed at your customers or engages them. But remember, they may look at your personal social media. Your customers may. So just remember, remember to stay professional and in good taste. I've had people ask me, well, what if I post something about a party I went to, or, the old lampshade on my head stuff? Well, my answer there is, don't post that stuff, even on your personal page. If you're a business owner or an important person in a business, don't post anything that's going to embarrass you. Now, you can have fun. You can show your kids. You can show your grandkids. You can show your pets. All those things on personal social media, but don't post something that's offensive, insulting. I would avoid those topics that polite company avoids, politics and religion, because you're going to offend someone. And you might feel that's a little bit constricting, but it's my best advice, because these days none of us really has privacy anymore. So, but you can't keep them totally separate, but definitely you can be posting and should be posting different things for the business and personally. Okay, any other questions, Adam?
Yes, our next question, isn't there a time limit for Instagram for a video?
Yes, there are time limits on videos. I can't tell you offhand, but you can just Google that. I know that, for instance, Facebook Live has a time limit of like 90 minutes. You can, you can find that out easily. If you exceed your time limit and you feel, say you're doing a live video of an event and you think your viewers really would like to see more, you can end and then start a new one. So that's what I would do if it exceeds the limit. But usually the limits are not so difficult to live with. Any other questions?
Yeah, one more question for you. Is there a benefit to posting a story versus a regular post on Facebook or Instagram?
That's a great question. To me, there's not a big difference. It's just that I would stick with it under stories. I would tell a story. I would use stories to tell a story, tell the story of your business. And posts, I would just do a regular post for posts, but stories are something that could be very useful for a business to tell your story. Now, you should also be telling your story on your website, all right? And you might develop your story on your website, break it down into pieces, and tell the story on social media under story. But that's something where you can sort of create a nuance there that is more helpful for your business. If you're using them interchangeably, it's not terrible, but I think it might be just a little more effective if you remember on stories to tell your story. Okay, do we have anything else, Adam?
That's it for right now, Judith. So please keep those questions coming, and we'll take them at the next break.
Yeah, thank you. Great questions, all of them. Okay, so one of the most common questions I get is, what platforms am I going to use for which content? Well, first of all, as a business owner, I'm going to say to you, each platform has a different audience and purpose. You can't post to all of them, and you don't need to. You need to decide where most of your customers and your prospects are. All right. So I will tell you how I look at each of these platforms. First of all, Facebook humanizes your brand. Although you want to have a business page on Facebook, and that is separate from your personal page, and you have to make it in connection with your personal page, but it does not show the same content. But on Facebook, you don't want to be too corporate. You want to have pictures of people. It's where Facebook is where you're a person. You might be perhaps a little corporate on your website, but Facebook is where you're going to be a person. So you should show up. If you have employees, they should show up. So use Facebook to humanize your brand, and bear in mind that Facebook users tend to be a little bit older. So I would say if your target audience is age 50 and older, you must be on Facebook. Okay. Now, Instagram draws us a younger audience. So Instagram is fun, but it also will have people, say, age 30 to 45, or even 25 to 45. So if that's your target audience, you've got to be on Instagram. Now, Facebook and Instagram, you can post the same things on those two automatically. You can set your Facebook up to say, every time I post to Facebook, I want to post to Instagram too, because Instagram is owned by Facebook. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But remember, Instagram is really a younger audience. And if you need to be reaching a younger audience, that should be more your focal point than Facebook. TikTok is the fastest growing platform. It has grown very quickly, and that's for video. But I'm just going to say that it's beginning to be used for instructional video. So TikTok is a great place, especially even younger than the Instagram crowd and up through the Instagram crowd. Like TikTok is young, age 18 to 25, and even age 18 to 35. TikTok is very important if that is your target audience. Twitter is something that's been in the news because of Elon Musk's interest in it. The safest use for Twitter for a business is to send someone somewhere. Use a Twitter account to say, hey, go look at my blog. Hey, go look at my Facebook page. Hey, there's something new on my website. Go to my Instagram account. And on those places, you're going to have more of a message. So that's, to me, the best use for Twitter as a business. Few more that are very important platforms. LinkedIn is a wonderful platform for displaying your expertise. Show what you know, whether it's in short posts or in a blog. LinkedIn has a wonderful blog platform called Publish. Use it, put your blogs there, and then send people there by using your other social media. Pinterest is for ideas. So if your business is like some products, how to use a product, or ideas about decorating, or ideas about fashion, Pinterest is great for reaching women. 80% of the users on Pinterest are female. And last but absolutely not least is YouTube. YouTube is nearly as important as Google for being found. There are millions of people who don't Google things, they just go to YouTube to find things. So any video you make, you're going to put it on your YouTube channel because that will help you be found. Now, your YouTube channel is free, but you want to learn a little bit about tagging your videos on YouTube so that you're found more easily. Okay, so your website. This, again, last but not least, website is so important. Many small businesses and professionals make the mistake of having a website created or creating it themselves and then just leaving it there. That's not what you should be doing. Your website is your digital storefront. Imagine a storefront that nothing ever changes or is ever updated. That is not going to attract anyone. That's not going to interest anyone after a while. So you want to remember that your website does need to be dynamic. It has to sell your business, and it needs to do that all the time. The beauty of a website is it can do that for you. So one of the important aspects of the text on your website is that you must use the keywords that are important to SEO. So you might say, well, what are my keywords? Keywords are the search terms that your prospects would use. It's not your business name or your personal name. It's the words that people would use to search for your product or service. So something like great shoes, something like delicious food, okay, if you're in the restaurant business, you're going to need to find out what your keywords or the most. And you can use these tools that I put up here. And there are others that help you identify your keywords. And those keywords, you're going to take them, you're going to use them in headlines and text to tell your story, which I've already mentioned. Your website's going to tell your story. Everyone's interested in your story. You might think your story's boring. It's not. Everyone has an interesting story. And your customers and your prospects want to know your story. They want to know how long this business has been in existence, why you started it, what interests you about it. They want to come along on your story. They want to hear about your challenges, how you met them, those challenges. This is fascinating. Human beings are hardwired to want to hear stories. So that's what your website should do. It's also a place to store all your content. So as I mentioned before, I'd like to see your social media running through the website. I'd also like you to have your blogs on there, any kind of videos. If you don't have the bandwidth to store videos, have links to your YouTube videos on your website. Have all your content there. So someone who wants to really learn about your business, they can learn about it from your website. All right. So we're closing in on the end here. You might say, how do you know if your content is working? You might see an uptick in likes, shares, or comments. You might see an improvement in your search engine ranking. That is, you want to be moved. You want to make sure you show up at the first page, the first Google search page. Google Analytics, you can get them free from Google. Find out who's looking at your website. Have you been able to increase the website traffic with the use of social media? Inquiries and sales. Are more people asking for information? Are you selling more? And overall, how does it feel? Like I know that when I am very active on social media, I can meet up with people, prospects, say at networking events, and people will say, "Oh, I know, I've met you before. I know you." They actually haven't. They've just seen my social media, but it feels to them like they know me, and it feels to me like, okay, we're getting somewhere. So what you're looking for is customer response. It isn't always sales, but it's often just more visibility, which, by the way, leads to sales. So you really can't sell to someone unless they know you, they've heard of you, they think they have connected with you. So that's really, these are all very important questions to ask after you've given your campaign some time to work. Okay, so I have come to the end of my part. I would be happy to take some more questions. If you have questions later on that come to you, you can always email me. You're now, if you've been to one of my workshops, you're now one of my peeps, and peeps are always welcome to contact me. So do we have anything in Q&A right now, Adam?
Yes, we have a couple here for you, Judith. First question, must you use Google to have a web page? Is Google free? I made my own web page that I update all the time.
That's fine. Google, you don't really have to, I mean, if you're on the internet, if you've published your website, Google knows about it. And you can ask for Google Analytics. You can request that Google Analytics. If you have, you might ask someone who is a webmaster or a web developer to help you with that. But once you know how to do that, it's very simple. So no, there's nothing. Google is essentially free. So don't worry about that.
Okay. Next question, Judith. Basically same question about LI Publish.
LinkedIn Publish. The same question is, okay, so LinkedIn, you need to have a LinkedIn account, which is free. Okay, you've got to have a LinkedIn account, but then you can publish your blogs. You just need to follow their guidelines, and it's absolutely free.
Okay, are there any more questions before we wrap up? I don't see any more questions at this point. So I'd like to move to close. So before you leave, I would appreciate it if you could, everyone could respond to the poll that I've just launched. For folks who are interested in getting a mentoring session from SCORE, which, remind you, all of our services are free, you can search our list of available mentors or be paired with one by either going to our website at the link provided here or by calling our office to ask for assistance, and our administrator there will help work with you to find a mentor. And I have the next slide, please, Judith.
Yes. Let me just minimize that. Okay. I'm sorry. There we go.
And the next, yes, and our contact information, our offices are at the Chester County Government Services Center in Westchester, and you feel free to call us or contact us by email and check out our website. All of our services are offered remotely at this time, so you will do our mentoring by video, and we'd be happy to help all of you, and wish you all the best with your businesses. And please answer our poll before you leave. Thank you.
Yes. Go ahead.
I was going to say thank you, Judith, for your presentation today. I know lots of great information, and as Judith indicated, she's happy to take emails if you come up with additional questions for her later on.
Thank you, Adam. And I also just want to chime in and say that our SCORE chapter is fantastic. Our SCORE mentors are fantastic. And I really urge you to look into getting a mentor. Business, you don't have to be just a startup business. You can be a business at any stage and get a mentor for free through SCORE. So thank you. And thank you all for coming.
Right. And we will be sending out the video of today's session to all the participants. And so you'll have that information to look at again and reference going forward.